I want to talk for a second about something I call the industrial policy myth, which is the idea that industrial policy historically is not something that we do in the United States. It's something associated with socialist governments in Europe. It's something associated with third world governments trying to develop their countries and usually failing. And it's associated with East Asian technocrats who actually seem to be pretty good at it, but no one really knows why. But in the United States, we don't do industrial policy. We don't have an interventionist tradition. We have free markets all the time. In point of fact, the U.S. has done a lot of industrial policy historically, going back almost to the founding of this country. But the kind I want to look at for a minute is what we did during the Cold War, where we had massive industrial policies, above all for national defense, but also for public health. For example, many of the great technologies of that era, the most obvious ones being jet passenger planes and the internet, were the product of military research and development and also military production. Because it's not enough to simply invent a technology. You have to actually produce it at large scale for it to have economic impact. And this is exactly what the U.S. government did. And the U.S. government funded the development of technologies such as the internet, where the early stages of the technological path to this product were so far out from ever having something you could actually have made money off of that there's no way that venture capital ever would have done it if you had said in 1965, well, we've got this idea of everybody having a computer in their pocket, all connected by this vast network. Well, people would have said, great, go write more science fiction. But that is eventually what happened. And also, we had huge industrial policies for public health. We have, above all, the NIH, or National Institutes of Health, which researched the drugs that were the basis of America's giant pharmaceutical industry. A long time ago, I had a business client in the pharmaceutical business. I'm not going to name names, but it was one of the big boys. And I went to their campus in northern New Jersey on the first day that I was consulting to them. And they gave everybody a tour, and I was taken around their campus tour group. And the guy giving the tour said to me as an aside, we don't really do any real research here anymore. We just have spies at the NIH. Now, at the time, I thought that was a scandalous and cynical thing to say. I have since discovered, particularly in the course of co-writing my book, Industrial Policy for the United States, that that is exactly what the government wanted to happen. It was based on the idea that fundamental research is not something you can make money off of, but in a field like pharmaceuticals, you can't do the stuff that actually does make money without it. And yet no individual pharmaceutical firm is going to want to do that research for reasons of high risk, long time horizons, difficulty keeping the knowledge to yourself, because a lot of fundamental knowledge, you can't patent it. So you have government do it. Now, what's happened in recent years is there's been a third category added, which is environmental protection. And things like this happened on and off alternative energy, really, since the 1970s, when, thanks to the two oil shocks of 73 and 79, the U.S. government put a lot of money into researching wind power. They even stood up a synthetic fuels corporation in the late 1970s. It was supposed to produce oil from coal, which at the time seemed like a really good idea because green energy technologies such as we have today, such as photovoltaics and wind, were not yet viable. Anyway, those technologies then became viable in large part because of research paid for by the U.S. government. Now, these are huge industrial policies with multi-hundred-billion-dollar effects. This is not laissez-faire capitalism. What it is it's a recognition that the free market on its own is not enough to accomplish everything that has to be done, that there are steps in the innovation pipeline, steps sometimes in the pipeline of standing up an industry at scale that the private sector can't handle, and therefore you need the government to do this.